Hello, YouTube coin collectors, stackers, eBay sellers, and customers. I was very distraught earlier this week when I saw this headline show up on my newsfeed. USPS employees show packages, piles of packages, and total chaos inside Louisville facility. Now, I can tell you personally, as an eBay seller and customer, I've been waiting for weeks on things. I have clients I sent packages to at the end of last year that are still waiting for stuff, and it shows up intermittently here and there, and it's late going to the next facility. It is literally an eBay seller's nightmare going on right now with the USPS, and a major inconvenience for our customers. I'm incredibly grateful because my customers have been working with me. They've been very understanding, and it seems like everybody is having trouble with the post office. So let's dive into this kind of crazy nightmare that's going on right now. So these are some photos that were posted by anonymous employees. I mean, imagine this is your stuff. Your customers waiting for their stuff. They're upset, understandably. You're frustrated, understandably, and this is what it looks like inside the Louisville facility right now. I mean, some of these pictures are kind of blurry, but my God, this is just complete and utter. You can't see that one, but this is complete and utter chaos. So we kind of cut down into the article here, and I'll put the links to all of the articles I'm going to show you in the description below so you can go see them yourself and you can watch these news stories. So I like to thank WDRB in Louisville, Kentucky for covering this story and kind of getting this word out here. So they go inside the United States Postal Service regional facility in Gardner Lane, Louisville, Kentucky. Packages and mail, many long past due to their destination. My God, do we know about that as sellers. Fill bins as workers try to clear the backlog. An employee at the facility wants to remain anonymous showed pictures, and I showed you some of these pictures, and he says, "It's so messed up in here. It's unreal." Dozens of complaints tell the same story. Packages show they're stuck at Gardner Lane Post Office with no signs when they'll be delivered, and the post office is not giving updates. They kind of issued this really kind of blanket, dumb update. Please let your viewers know we apologize for any inconvenience. Oh my God, really? And you can visit our website and go here and send us an email and visit us on Facebook. Really? That's the best you guys can do. So then the Louisville residents say tracking their USPS packages show the mail truck is stuck at Gardner Lane with no update. People are waiting on Christmas gifts. It's almost February. It's almost the Super Bowl. Waiting on Christmas gifts, checks, medications. Do you imagine if you're waiting for your medication? I mean, I sell coins. If it takes a couple extra weeks to get your coins, it's inconvenient. If it takes a couple extra weeks to get your medication, I mean, I don't even want to think about the consequences of that. It's scary. And so they blame the weather up here in their little communication, their public communication. And this USPS employee says, "It was like this before the weather events even came. It's going to be a long while. This post office is packed with mail. It's ridiculous. There's no order, nothing, total chaos." And the USPS won't say how long it's going to be, but there's several semi trucks arriving each day. And it could be months before the issue is resolved. So last week there were over 50 semis full of mail, and they have packages in the barn. They are throwing people's packages in the barn. What in the world is the barn? Well, the employees say that the barn is an extra storage area, which is frustrating. I mean, I'm just picturing like this barn out back where they're throwing the packages. No insulation, no nothing, some horses hanging out, some cows in there chewing their cud, and there's your Christmas present thrown in the middle of it all. We still have Christmas packages in here. The employee shared pictures of broken equipment with signs that they couldn't be used, broken dock doors, and so on. I've been going down to my post office to deliver my USPS Ground Advantage stuff. And I'm done using the self-service kiosk. I'm done using that self-service kiosk because it'll say like receipt. And then there's no updates for days and sometimes weeks. And the clients are like, "You never shipped my thing." So now I wait in line and have it scanned. So this woman who works, and she's very nice and very helpful, her scanner doesn't work. She's literally like unplugging it and then plugging it back in, her hand scanner, scanning my package. It's not scanning. She's unplugging it, plugging it back in. Really? So you start to think of, well, how many of these hand scanners aren't working? And if you're not sitting there watching them do it, do they even care? They just kind of throw it in the next bin or whatever, And so we're doing the best we can. And I feel for these employees. My God, these poor people. It sounds like they had a lot of people retire, which I'll get to the next article, and then they just didn't bring in the extra help that they normally do. And now we have Congress people getting involved in this. So this was the first article. Then I see this next one come out. This is on Wave. I'm not sure what Wave is, but again, I'll have all these links down below. You can watch this news article. USPS delays disrupting small businesses and online sellers. And my God, is that not true? So we're back in Louisville, Kentucky. Thank you, Wave, for posting this. Missing mail and parcels parked at post offices across Louisville, leaving Kentuckians waiting and wondering what's going on. We have a business owner here, Christine Scanlon, a seamstress based in Kentucky who specializes in colonial clothing. That sounds kind of cool. That sounds really cool, actually. And relies on the USPS for things that you can't get at her average store. I imagine if you're making colonial clothing, it's not always available down at Walmart to go pick this up to get that fabric you need. So she says in the 1800s, they could get a package from Missouri to Sacramento, California by horseback in 10 days. We have planes, trains, and automobiles, and we can't do it. Weeks-long delays are disrupting small businesses just like hers and mine and yours if you're watching. She's out almost $15,000 from missing packages. And she says she'll feel the impacts much longer. She talks about here, and again, links down below if you want to read this. She's talking about stuff that, it's going to affect her for months to come. I imagine you got to make these costumes, you have to make these clothes. And if you start falling behind, it's probably a very hard and deep hole to climb out of. It's also disrupting sales on places like Facebook Marketplace and eBay. Well, I'm feeling it. You're probably feeling it too. It's frustrating, says Gary Piles, and I'm sorry for the people we sold items to. I mean, imagine being sorry you sold something to somebody for something that's completely entirely out of your control. Piles shipped a few packages on December 31st, and they have yet to get to the people who purchased them. I have several of those right now myself on eBay. I'm communicating with my clients, and I'm apologizing on behalf of the Postal Service. I won't be surprised if I have to issue some refunds at this point. A person at the counter said, well, they didn't account for retirements at the end of the year, and they didn't bring on the extra help. So we're getting kind of backed up. If we skip down below here, Miss Scanlon, who's making the cool colonial clothing, talks about, both my postmaster and consumer affairs finally let it slip. They've had packages sitting at the packing center since December 3rd. That was a week ago. I think she means that was a month ago based on when this story was published, right? So imagine this, right? It's almost February 3rd, like next week, and, stuff sitting there. The delays are an inconvenience, though she believes the real concern is for people whose lives and finances depend on the mail system. When I send coins in for grading, I used to use the U.S. Postal Service, and I'd have to get everything there. I'd have to buy the insurance and so forth, and I'd send it to a P.O. box for PCGS. Today, I'm so frustrated with the Postal Service, I FedEx everything to PCGS. And let me tell you, it's half the price, and it gets there the next day with a signature. So we want to talk about efficiencies and inefficiencies. Let's go to this Gallup finding here. Gallup findings on USPS show what Doge faces. So I don't want to get into a political discussion about Doge, but let's talk about some of the things that's happening. Gallup found among 15 postal agencies, the U.S. Postal Service is the only one with majority support. I guess that's good. Yet it's the poster child of financial failure and inefficiency, thanks to its government monopoly and subsidy. So let's skip down below here. And it says here, this is interesting, right? So the U.S. Postal Service had 525,000 career and 115,000 non-career employees in 2024, right? So we're like, it's that 650,000, 640,000. And it revealed that its net loss for the year under generally accepted accounting principles is almost $10 billion, up $3 billion from the year before. So $9.5 billion in 2024, $6.5 billion. So just racking up loss after loss. It's no wonder they can't fix their equipment. And it was against a total operating revenue of $79 billion, which increased a little bit over the prior year. Now let's go down to USPS. Well, before we do that, it also noted that USPS has not been able to cover its debt and expenses for 15 years, and this makes the 16th year. So if we compare it to UPS, a comparison, UPS's private sector counterpart, UPS had 500,000 employees, so significantly fewer, revenue of $90 billion, so higher revenue with fewer employees, a market cap of $105.6 billion, and it actually earned $7.5 billion, down from the previous year, but still, I mean, we're talking it's earning billions of dollars, and it's not suffered a single loss once this century. So how can you have this dichotomy here? Well, I guess it comes down to this, difference between the perception, people like the post office, and the performance. And so, of course, we know that the USPS is granted a monopoly, and this monopoly actually is costing us taxpayers almost $10 billion to subsidize this monopoly. So it goes on to say that if we essentially didn't subsidize it and you and I and everybody else was charged what it actually cost to run it, we would be charged significantly more for everything that we mailed and shipped and so forth. So, so it goes on to say here, USPS's drop in volume, so it's continuing to lose volume year over year, shows that monopoly alone is not enough. So they have a complete monopoly, it's not enough. They also need the government subsidy. And as I mentioned, if the public had to pay the full cost the USPS incurs to deliver its mail, the volume would drop even more. Of course it would, because it would get a lot more expensive. And everything else is getting crazy expensive as it is. So if as soon as we had to pay a lot more and realize how terrible the service is, that public perception would undoubtedly plunge. Of course it would. I mean, my perception of the post office is probably at record lows, having been an eBay seller for a while now. And, if you don't pay the actual cost, you're probably less likely to recognize the poor performance. So USPS is a case study of the insidious nature of government monopoly and subsidy. So again, I'll post these down below. I think that it's incredibly interesting to read this, to see Doge. I've said for years that the USPS should be taken private. You can see just the difference between UPS and USPS, both in terms of the revenue and profitability and efficiencies as related to that. And you might all say, well, you're going to pay more for UPS. Well, in the case of FedEx, when I send my coins in for grading, I'm actually paying less. That's what's crazy. I'm paying less. It's getting there faster with tracking, the same amount of insurance and everything else. And I have confidence that FedEx is going to get it there and on time and efficiently. So I would love to hear what you guys think. Again, I'm going to put the links to all three of these stories in the description so you can read them. Watch the videos on these news sites. They're very interesting. You can get a much closer look at the chaos and so forth that's happening in the Louisville Postal USPS Distribution Center. Makes you wonder what other distribution centers in the country may look like. I personally have a lot of trouble in Florida. When I send stuff to Florida, it literally goes off the map, sometimes for weeks, until it finally shows up down there. So I think there might be issues down there as well. Other parts of the country seem to go faster. But if, you look at Louisville, you start to wonder, okay, we just had a big snowstorm in New Orleans. What does it look like down there? Florida just had a bunch of snow. What does it look like down there? As always, guys, thank you so much for watching and listening. I appreciate you. Don't forget to like and subscribe. And happy collecting.